Well, Bill, don't look at me like that. You may think this is all about you today, but it's not. When the word got out that there was going to be a free catered meal after church on Sunday, 180 seniors on a fixed income couldn't sign up quick enough. Oh. But who would have thought that COVID brought out some of the best in us? Who would have thought that when Bill turned 60, there would be a drive-by birthday party in the parking lot for him? Fire engines, rescue squads, sirens. It was fun. And I think one of the highlights of his preaching experience was in the parking lot, preaching from the fishing boat. Well, you've taken us on a 10-year ride that's been unbelievable. It started out in December 2011. It was at, the sermon I remember was at the Christmas Eve service. We all showed up at 4 o'clock. The tree was lit, the ornaments were on. Don Stamp was in his Christmas red vest, very carefully lighting all the candles on the aisle there. We all sat down comfortably in our pews, thinking about going home and opening up Christmas presents with the kids and the grandkids, and having a nice lutefisk meal that night. What? It's okay. What happened? Oh no. We were out on the lake, out ice fishing with Bill for his sermon. We were on a lake north of Madison, or of Green Bay there, fishing until it got dark. And then it really got dark. So dark that we couldn't get off the ice. And we had to wander over towards the island, and then we had to make a plan, and then from the plan all of a sudden we look up and there's that light so far away, and we all started walking towards the light. And that was our Christmas Eve sermon that year. No way in a manger, no shepherds, no ice, just ice fishing out on the lake. I think we all started thinking, hey, wait a minute, we better start paying attention to these sermons. We might miss something. And then we followed Bill to growing up in Nichols, Seymour area, right outside of Madison.
Oh.
Green Bay. Why am I? Got it going.
This is a geography teacher.
Yeah. Cute, Johnny. And then he took us out to the hills, to the silos, the barns, to ponder. And I think to that point, I don't think any of us knew what pondering was, but we learned from Bill about pondering. And then it was out to the farm, to his folks' dairy farm, and some of the arduous tasks of learning how to pick mustard seeds. I don't think that was one of your more favorite activities. And then in the wintertime, Bill was down in the barn with his dad, and his job was to shovel the stuff. And as the winter got longer and longer, the stuff got further outside of the barn. Pretty soon, here's planks being put down on the stuff. And here's Bill wheelbarrowing the stuff out and falling into the stuff. And there was his dad pulling him out of the stuff, just like God pulls us out of our stuff. And, he's quick. He's very creative here. Him and all his buddies got together, and they were playing baseball out in the yard. The catcher got too close to the batter, and they kept getting too close, too close. Batter takes a swing, whack, right in the head. Big old bump right on top of the head. So, all the bad news bears, they go running in the house. They go to the refrigerator. They look for the big bag of ice. No ice. They go downstairs. They found what they needed. They come back upstairs, out into the yard. And I can just imagine this mother as she came and all the bad news bears are leaning over her child, and there's a frozen chicken right on the side of the lap. It worked.
We told them to back up.
And then on to college. And in college, you know, money's pretty tight. But yet he took a few extracurricular activities of fishing that he never got credit for, but he goes out, buys a brand new lure. He's going down the river, casting, gets caught up in the branches. Now you got to envision this. Here's Bill standing up in the boat with his buddy on his shoulders, trying to get the lure back out of the branches.
That was a brand new perch for Paula.
Yeah, it works. Well, at this time, I know many of you would like to stand up. You'd like to say a few words. And if we kept on going, we'd probably be sending out for pizza by supper time tonight. But I've asked just a couple of people that have worked closely with Bill these past 10 years to say a few words. So, Jolene, if you would come up here, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. I was told yesterday by a professor, never come without your notes. So I'm Jolene Peterson. I've been asked to speak on behalf of Lakeside's Welka Group. Pastor Bill, we'd like to thank you for always supporting us. From devotions at our board meetings to always being present at our luncheons to installing our officers and providing communion at our fall retreats. I remember one of the first luncheons I organized here. There were 100 women sitting around tables. We were going to do a style show. Pastor Bill had just started dating Rhonda at the time, so he was in a very good mood. And she was one of our models, so we all went to the back to change clothes, and the women sitting out here got a little restless. All of a sudden, from the back room, we can hear the harmonica. Pastor Bill made it to the platform, and 100 plus women started singing, "You Are My Sunshine." That was a God wink for sure. We'd also like to thank Rhonda for all her help and support, especially with the quilting for Lutheran World Relief. Every Tuesday you can find these ladies here making quilts. On any given Tuesday you could find her tying knots to sewing quilts together. We could always count on you to take any task that needed doing. So as a thank you, on behalf of Lutheran World Relief, we would like to present you with this pin. You will also be missed. Pastor Bill, how will we ever know when it's our turn to make announcements on Sunday mornings when our names will no longer be announced to the country tunes of Delta Dawn or Jolene? Mostly we will miss your hugs, your heart, your sense of humor, your encouragement, your unique passing of the peace. Mostly. And the love of God that shines from you every day. Thank you, and God bless you in your retirement.
And now we'd like to hear from Lori. Worked very closely with Bill for 10 years with all the kids' Sunday school.
I'm going to try real hard not
Okay.
to cry.
Put it right up there.
Yeah. Well, Mick asked me to say a few words about working with you and the kids at Lakeside, so I'm going to give this my best shot. And first off, I was on the call committee that called Pastor Bill, and I take great honor in the fact that he's been darn good. And during that process, my husband Wayne and I went over to Christ the King before we had ever met him, because we knew he was my person to check out. And so I saw him do his children's sermon. And so during the call process, I said to him, I said, so what's your, how do you deal with the children of the congregation? And he said, well, I got to tell you, that's not my strong area. But I wasn't discouraged, because I had seen him do that children's sermon, and he was great. He really was. So when you came to Lakeside, you immediately started participating in Sunday school and Kids for Christ, and the kids would follow him around like the Pied Piper. And he was always one to make sure not only did they learn something, but that they had a lot of fun. Our first mission trip we took was to Minneapolis, and there were 5 kids. And we went to Feed My Starving Children on that trip. It was a good trip. It was a very good trip. And then one of our next trips, we went to Charleston. Now this was a big deal. There were 12 kids, and so we even had to get extra people, and they're not here. They left the church shortly thereafter.
Shortly after that mission trip.
That's exactly right. Shortly after the mission trip, Dave and Dagny left the church. They moved far away. So, and we had a great time. It was a 2-day trip down and a 2-day trip back. And I still owe Pastor Bill a seafood dinner, because he wanted to go out for seafood and the kids wanted to go to Bojangles. And the kids won. So, and our last trip was to Kenosha. Wasn't the best, but we did go to see where Pastor Bill had been, to Nichols. We went very near Nichols. Wasn't it Nichols that we went near, or was one of the places?
Yep. Tour.
And yeah, we did. And we made 2 trips with the kids to Feed My Starving Children over the years. I know that my life has been better because of Pastor Bill and the kids. I have to say, those kids were amazing. They're still amazing. I get hugs whenever I see them, and they think you are right next to Jesus. So. See, I did it.
Very good. Very good. I got to say, with all the stories I told about his different sermons, at the end of each sermon, Ruthie and I, back in the choir area, along with Judy Wilson and Marilyn Anderson, we would look at each other and go, where is he going with the stories? But he always brought us back to the gospel. The gospel and the good news. Now, they do say behind every good man there's a good woman. But there, in Bill's case, there's 2 women. And so we're going to ask Marcia if she would like to say a few words at this time. Marcia, come on up. Can't you just see her yelling out her office? Pastor Bill, quit pondering. Your newsletter is due in an hour.
All right. I'm not very good at this, so bear with me. So I'm Marcia Bruner, and I am the office administrator. I've been an office administrator here for 7.5 years. 7.5 long years, huh? They say it's not what we have in life, but who we have in lives that matter. And I feel very lucky to have been with Pastor Bill these last years. I would say we work very well together. Pastor Bill is a night owl. I'm an early morning person, but it didn't matter. Each morning, I would hear his key in the door and a "Good morning, Marcia," every morning, rain or shine. We would share updates and what we needed to do. There was always something to smile about, though. I saw, for example, he would say, "I saw a big buck last night, came right up to my stand, but I couldn't shoot it. It's too early in the season." Or you'd say, I went snowmobiling yesterday, had a lot of fun. Or there's some critter by eating my house. Or look at the fish that Rhonda caught. And he'd show me a whopper of a fish that she caught. Or, and he's very good at this, rubbing his top of his ear and say, "I gotta go home and make chili without meat." Without meat. During the pandemic, a lot of the time, Pastor Bill worked at the man cave. But there was times when he came in. And one day, we were working along, couple hours went by, and all of a sudden, I heard race cars going zoom, zoom, zoom around a track. And then it stopped. And I said, "That didn't sound like a sermon to me." And he said, and with a big grin, he said, but I just couldn't help it. The property committee worked really hard at our geese problem, and if you're aware of it, down at the outdoor service area, we are always battling geese. Well, they leave their little spots, you know. So Pastor Bill would come on Wednesdays mornings. He'd make a big loop and look down at the, see how bad it is. And that's the time when I would hear him mumble. He would mumble in the morning about this. And then later on, I could see him walking by my window with a shovel. Another time, he lost his cell phone, and he was getting a bit concerned. I would dial his phone in his office and would listen. Nothing. So he went outside, stuck his head in his van. I dialed. Nothing. So he drove home, and I dialed, wait until he thought he would be there. I dialed, and I heard, I got it. It was on top of his recliner. He walked by it a million times, you know. Another time he was so excited. He had gotten a pink candle from Mark and Barb Whiteside. It was the smell of diesel fuel. Oh, racing fuel, excuse me, racing fuel. I told him if he burnt that to shut the door. Pastor Bill, I admire how you can laugh at yourself, how you can remember people's names, and you treat every person like they're very special. I will miss our daily communications, even the ones at 3 in the morning. But just think, now you will be able to sleep in every day. It's been a pleasure working with you, Pastor Bill. I wish Rhonda and you many, many years of fishing happily.
Thank you.
We're now going to hear from Mark Whiteside. Mark's out in Colorado. Okay.
He's here.
So we're going to put Mark on the PA here. Mark, remember, I have the microphone in my hand, okay?
Okay. Good afternoon, Lakeside. First, I'd like to thank Mick for including me in this celebration. I always just assumed that I would be there in person for Pastor's retirement. But I believe I have a pretty good excuse for not being there. The grandparents in attendance will definitely understand my excuse. Our 2 Colorado granddaughters are having their first dance recital this weekend. When Barb and I retired to our lake home in June of 2011, our intent was to immediately join Lakeside. However, we quickly learned that you were in the process of calling a new minister, so we decided to wait. It took us only 1 church service with Pastor Bill, and we joined the church. We actually told him that while leaving that service. Both Barb and I have discussed at length that Pastor is truly a gifted minister. I've always said that he's not a preacher, but a storyteller. I really got to know Pastor well when I was elected to serve as council president. We would meet at least once a month just to talk. At first, we would spend the majority of our time talking about church-related topics. And then at the end, we'd spend a few minutes socializing. By year 4, it was quite the opposite. The months during the pandemic brought us closer. Neither one of us was sure where the pandemic was going to lead Lakeside. We quickly learned to lean on each other. And I can still clearly remember Pastor's favorite phrase, "This too shall pass." It's truly been a privilege to get to know both Pastor and Rhonda on a very personal level. Both Barb and I wish both of you a healthy and long retirement. You both have earned it. However, I have one fear that I must share with you. I fear for the fish in Burnett County. Thank you very much. God bless all of you.
Is he off? Did you get off?
I think so.
You done, Mark?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. The last person we're going to hear from this morning is Pastor Steve Nelson. Pastor Steve Nelson, you are responsible for Bill Schrader. He was the senior pastor over in Green Bay at Christ the King in Appleton. So, Steve?
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm Steve Nelson. I got a call back in, it'd been 12, 15 years ago, I guess. There was a seminary student from Nichols who needed an internship site. And at the time, we were in the Appleton area, and someone knew that we might be open to that, so they gave us a call and said, would you take an intern for the year? He needs to be close to home, which is Nichols, and we said, well, we'll see if we can work it out. And we did work it out, and sure enough, here came Bill, and we had a marvelous year of ministry. I can still hear Christ the King in some of the things you do here with your worship service and so forth. He's kept that alive, as well as the sense of humor, as well as the compassion and the humility and all those good qualities that you've come to enjoy. We saw that at the very beginning. And I guess how that evolved then, so it started out as me being his supervisor for a year, and then after that we called him to come back and be on the staff, to be one of the pastors. So then he and I and the rest of us were colleagues, and that was a different spin on our relationship. And he took over, we had a 2-site ministry, and he pretty much took charge of the Sherwood site, made that work, and we continued our teamwork. And then he was my pastor because my wife Marge, who had been battling cancer for about 10 years, was in the last stages of her life, and Bill was there on staff and ministered with Marge and us and the family in her passing and in the celebration of her life. And I still remember afterward him saying to me, just leave, we'll take care of it. And they did. And he said, you take as much time as you need with your family to recover from this, and we'll take care of it. The church will go on. And it did. So he's been my pastor, and then all along, of course, Bill's been a friend. He has the gift of friendship, the gift of communicating and being honest and so forth. So you've been a true blessing. And then when you got Rhonda, that was doubling down on goodness and a blessing for us as well. Just to summarize, and I don't think anything I'm going to tell you now is anything you don't know, but I think, as I think about Bill and his gifts, I think the thing that stands out the most for me is that Bill always shows up. And what a gift that is, to have someone you can count on to show up in good times, bad times, sad times, whatever, just to know there'll be somebody there. And when Bill shows up, he brings Jesus with him, because he and his master are quite a team as well. And so his mind and his heart are on God's people, but it starts with his connection with his Lord. And I still think some of Bill's happiest times, I can still see him at Christ the King, sitting around the table, pulling people together for Bible study, opening up the Bible, and just going through the Word. It's something that he's gifted at, that he enjoyed doing, and is very good at sharing with one another. So he always brought Jesus, and then he always has something to say. And we've heard versions of that before, you know, where is he going with this story? And he always ends up with something that's good news. And in a world that is crying out for good news, Bill has always been able to find that, proclaim it, and build a life, a ministry, and a congregation on the good news of God and the good news of Jesus, God's Son. So he has something to say. And what you know is probably behind this aw shucks country boy personality is a very smart man. He's well read, he's very thoughtful, and he's a good listener. Finding a preacher who can talk is not hard, but finding one who can listen, now that's a catch. And you have that gift and have always had that as well. Thank you for that. And when he leaves, you always feel better. Not because he's gone. I noticed this morning that the biggest applause came when he sat down. That's right. But he always leaves you feeling better. Something is hope, something that's good, something will be better because Bill has taken time to show up, bring Jesus, and listen. So I was with you at the beginning of your ministry. As your supervisor, we spent a marvelous year getting used to one another and sharing in that ministry, and then as a colleague, and now as a friend. We look forward to continuing that with you and Rhonda as well. So I helped you start your ministry. Now I'm going to give you a little advice to help you with retirement. How's that? Some of the things that I've learned, and Liz can verify that too. Retirement means waking up with nothing to do and going to bed with only half of it done. Retirement means taking a nap before bedtime. Retirement means twice as much husband and half as much money. Retirement means sometimes things will begin to slip. I mentioned to my doctor once that my memory was getting a little short. Now he makes me pay in advance. And Bill, you can stop fishing for people, and now you can fish for fish. Continue to do that. Good luck. We look forward to seeing you at our place on the river down in La Crosse on Alaska. And also, I also want, when someone retires from the ministry, you are retiring from the congregation that you are serving, but you're retiring from the whole ministry as well. So I'd like to, on behalf of all of the people that you blessed and left behind at Christ the King, to say thank you for the ministry you did there, as well as the ministry that you've done here. You've been blessed to be a blessing, and because of that, all of us are blessed as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well chosen words. Well, it comes that time when we have a little gift for you, Bill. And it's not a pass to the Packers for a year. We had a highly trained group of professional fishermen, Charlie, Tony, Big Bob, who we miss it, Roger. And they did a lot of research, and we've noticed you for 10 years here, diddling around with all these panfish here on all these lakes. You took them all out of my lake, I know that. But we'd like to send you over to Minnesota on the other, Minnesota. And we'd like to send you up to the big lake, Lake of the Woods.
Wow.
You and Rhonda.
That sounds awesome.
We've come up with 4 different fishing lodges that we'd like you to go to. Your choice. One day a week, it really doesn't matter. But here's one for Ballard's Resort. Here's one for Border View Lodge. Here's one for Sportsman's Lodge.
Wow.
And then also on Leech Lake, here's the Red Wing Lodge. Now, is this okay, Rhonda? Yeah? Okay. 3 restrictions, all right? 3 rules here. First of all, you can't bring your boat because we know it falls off the trailer.
I wasn't driving.
Yeah, blame it on somebody. 2, you can't bring your own motor because we know the prop falls off the motor.
That was my daughter.
And third of all, and this is imperative, when you're up there, you must go out on a fishing, on a launch with a guide.
Ooh.
Because we know you could get lost out on that lake. And in your next sermon, we do not want to be blamed for you getting lost out on Lake of the Woods. And so the congregation got together. We scraped up a few dollars. You want to open this up?
All right.
And
Other end.
yeah. Finally wrapped.
Can I have a garbage bag?
Absolutely. This will be for a little gas money and a little minnow money, $8,000. Now, I just want to let you know, we are going to be going into the Guinness Book of World Records because 150 Lutherans kept a secret for 2 months. It's all yours.
Thank you so much. As I've said before, when I was looking at taking a change of call, and I had a wonderful call at Christ the King, and yet there was part of me that always just thought that my soul wanted to be in the Northwoods. And when I received the information about this congregation, sort of through the one bishop to another bishop, and I looked at that map and I seen all the blue. And I looked at the yellow lab and I go, I don't know, Toby. I said, it's got possibilities. I had no idea that I moved up here, and I can honestly say, I mean, this has been, my life has been a blessing. And so many of those people that I've been able to share it with, and and to have college buddies here today means a great deal to me. Thank you. And also to Steve and Liz, thanks for being here today. And also to this congregation. It is an amazing place, and it is the place that will always have a special place in my heart, because we'll still be living in this part. And not only did I get a great congregation, but it got me into the proximity close enough, even though she circled 50 miles and I was like just over. But she took the chance, and it has been an absolute blessing that not only have you welcomed me, but you have welcomed Rhonda. And the only thing that I can sum this all up with is thank you. Thank you. I have been blessed, and I just give God thanks each and every day that I get to live in this area, and that you have been such a great part of my life. And so we will continue. Honk the horn when we drive by. The Northwoods, make sure we wave. All right? Honk when you go past. Yeah, pull in every now and then. And may the Lord bless you this day and every day. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Yes. Thank
you. Give Bill a high five.
Well, Bill, as you told Lizzie and Ellie a couple weeks back for your confirmation, God has a plan for you. Now, it could be a pro fishing or pro hunting guide. You could walk down the road to Monty and Barry's and help them tie corn sacks with the Miller nut. You could pick up the phone and go feed Mill Bill. Or maybe you could just walk through the woods, still pondering. And so in closing, I'd like to use the words that you use at the end of each one of your sermons when you say, God loves you. And we love you. And this church will always love you.
We love you.
Yep. Happy retirement.
Thank you.